What's going on YouTube? Welcome to my YouTube channel. Today I have a very interesting piece of Americana history right in front of you. Yes, it is a box of Twinkies, but not only is it a box of Twinkies, it's a special box of Twinkies. So for those of you who don't know the history of Twinkie, I'm going to go over that briefly. So the Twinkie was invented in 1930 by a gentleman named James Dewar. He owned a strawberry shortcake, basically bakery, and when strawberries were out of season, he wanted to figure out a way to do something with the cake portion of a strawberry shortcake. So he decided to create what was more abundant at the time and created the Twinkie. Now, the original filling of the Twinkie was banana cream because bananas were readily available at the time. During the World War II, bananas were rationed, so they had to change the Twinkie formula and remove the banana cream out of the cream and just make it regular cream. So obviously, this brand's been around for many, many years. It's been part of people's lunches. Now, probably not so much nowadays with, us being so health conscious and whatever. And I think, the Atkins diet or things of that nature back in '04 kind of helped kill the Hostess brand or Twinkie for a second time. But basically, guys, this company used to make the cakes at a factory or obviously a big, large factory bakery, and then they would actually have semi trucks to deliver the products to the stores, along with other items. Like at the time, they owned Wonder Bread, and there's not just Twinkies, but you had union truck drivers, you had trucks, diesel fuel, insurance, tolls, you name it. And their model at the time was to basically directly ship these straight to the store. So you couldn't find a Twinkie at a Dollar General or really even at like a Walgreens or, a smaller pharmacy or gas stations, just because they weren't designed to do that. They were basically designed to drop off a lot of product. And if you wanted a Twinkie back then, you had to go to the grocery store or your Walmart or Target, larger superstore. So the guys that bought this company, so the story is it's November 2012. So this is over 12 years ago. They basically shut the doors. They stopped making Twinkies. This was November 21st, 2012. I remember this very clearly. All of a sudden, there was like, you went to your grocery store and there's always like a very large Hostess section. Typically, it was in an area that was pretty darn close to the cash registers as well. All the Twinkies were gone. And then all the other products were gone, like the other Hostess brands. Everything was a hot commodity because like people are like, wow, I'm never going to be able to have a Twinkie or a Hostess product ever again, because literally it was national news. They were shutting down. Now, I'm in Illinois, not too far from Schiller Park, where the actual Twinkie was invented and where a lot of the major factories or bakeries came about. So this was huge news. So you had people on eBay selling box of Twinkies for hundreds of dollars because people are like, I can't get them anymore. I want them, so on and so forth. So obviously this is definitely, a piece of American history. It's a brand that's been around since the 30s and all of a sudden it was gone. So push came to shove. They ended up filing bankruptcy for a second time, and they basically, the new buyers were able to purchase just the brand itself and the recipe and the 8 remaining factories, but there were no employees, no pensions, no trucks, none of that stuff. They literally just bought what they wanted. And then they decided to change the way Twinkies were actually distributed and brought the brand back to life. So they made, first of all, the Twinkie itself at the time was only good for about 25 days. That was its shelf life because it didn't really need that long of a shelf life if you're going from the bakery straight to the actual grocery store, and then it would get sold. So they had to increase the shelf life. So they spent millions of dollars, basically having scientists reconfigure, the formula, and then they got it from shelf life of around 26 days to about 45 days. Later on, they got it all the way up to 65 days. Because if you're going to skip the store direct model and you're going to send all your product to an actual warehouse, like a Walmart's warehouse or a major distribution center, you got to make sure the product can sit and wait a little bit longer before it eventually gets placed on the store shelf. So that was the first thing that they did. Whether they use union or non-union labor, regardless, they also modernized all the factories and the bakeries so that way the product would be made the more modern way versus using union labor. And they had a really poor model at the time, which again is why the company went bankrupt a few times. I didn't know this, but I think like in the 90s or maybe the 80s, Purina, those of us who here in the United States with Purina, which is known for a dog food company and cat food and all kinds of pet food, but they owned Twinkies back then. I guess this was like super hot. There was times in the 80s where they sold like $3.8 billion worth of worth of Hostess products. So we love sweet here in the United States, but then obviously trends happen, and then it was not a good idea to have something like this in your lunchbox. And actually, if you had that in today's lunchbox, the other kids would probably make fun out of you. That's my guess. They'd be like, "Ew, what's that? What do you have in your lunchbox? Why don't you have something healthy?" Which is great. But 99% of America has grown up eating a Twinkie, so it's not that bad. I mean, it's a treat, but I guess to have it in your lunchbox every single day, probably not the greatest of thing if you're, trying to make a healthy child. Anyways, so this particular box is, so 7 months goes by and they make national news, they revamp the product, they revamp the process, and they release it. So this is the newest formula after that company. They bought it for like 410 million. Later on, they sold it for like 2.3 billion or whatever. Obviously this did pretty well during the Big C recently as well. But this particular box is from that time period. So the expiration on this is August 24th, 2013. I know it sounds super gross. You're probably like, dude, why do you have an old box of Twinkies? Why do you have two of them, by the way? Well, I completely forgot that I had this item. I know I bought a bunch of these back in 2014 when they were re-released. And this was in July. So July, these hit the store shelves. And I went right away. I'm like, I'm going to go get these. And I remember like my family was laughing, like, why do you like, I never really ate Twinkies, but I'm like, I'm going to go get this. This is going to be something like really cool. I'm like, this is Americana. They're like, yeah, whatever. You're weird. Like, why are you rushing the grocery store? So anyways, I rushed there. I grabbed all the boxes I could. I think there was like 20 left. I grabbed all of them. I filled up an entire shopping cart of Twinkies, like super weird, right? And it was, look at that, $3.99 at the time. The price there. So anyways, I forgot I had these. So these have been sitting in my home office here on the top shelf. I forgot I like cleaned off my shelves and I put this like way up top and I had some other boxes in front of it. But anyways, these have been kept in a, I guess you call it environmentally controlled environment, temperature wise, humidity, things of that nature. I know they're good for 45 days, but for many, many, many years past that. What are we, like 12 years or, well, yeah, about 11 years since these came out from the brand new factories. So I want to get your take on what you think of this actual brand. If you're from overseas, I'd like to know if you even know what a Hostess Twinkie is. Is that something that's popular over there? Again, now this is more easily accessible. Again, you could get this at a gas station. You could get not this new Sweetest Comeback Ever, this 11-year-old box. This is sealed too, guys. Like seriously. Now I can't sell this on eBay because you're not allowed to sell expired food. There are people that just have the box itself, so they take the box apart and then they sell it to people who like to collect actual boxes of Americana. So this obviously would be a very unique sale if I eventually ever wanted to sell these, but I remember selling these. I swear, guys, I was selling these for like maybe $50. 10 times my money, more than 10 times the money after eBay fees. These were easily selling for $50, and that was 11 years ago on eBay. And I had all kinds of buyers, like international buyers too at the time, because they're like, man, we got to get their Twinkie. And then like died out, like nobody cared anymore. But this particular box is right when the brand came back to life. And I'm telling you, in America, if you take something away, we get really pissed off. It creates hysteria. People will spend crazy money for stuff. What are some of the recent things that we've ran out of? Well, sriracha. Guys, I don't know if you eat sriracha with your food, but there was a time where sriracha was hard to come by. I don't think it reached as big of national news, but I just remember it wasn't in the store already. Now, it's back in the stores and it tastes as good as ever. Love it on my pizza. But as far as, I think there was some kind of Asian sauce that came with the McNugget. Was it Shanghai sauce or something that was like limited, and people were selling little packets of chicken McNugget sauce for like hundreds of dollars. Like, people are nuts, man. So I tell you what, here in America, we love our food. We love our Americana. Even though you don't eat Twinkies every day, you probably haven't had one in a while. It's probably been 11 years since I bought a Twinkie. I don't know. I'm just not into them. I didn't grow up eating Twinkies. I remember I tried them. I like the chocolate one better, but I just thought it was an interesting story to share with you guys. So I'm interested in the comments. What is your history with Twinkies? Did you grow up eating Twinkies? Are you younger and this is like completely foreign? And when you see this in the store, you're like, ooh, gross. That's like basically no good for you. You scan it with your app and your app tells you to stay away from it. There's all kinds of people that buy stuff nowadays. But what do you think this box, again, of Twinkies that came out that came back to life? This is the first series that came out at the time. What do you think something like this is worth? And is this something another channel? I know there's other channels out there that I've watched during the pandemic where like dudes were like eating old military MREs, which is kind of nasty. Like some were from like World War I, World War II, from other countries. They were just like eating old stuff, and I don't know how they didn't get sick. But is this something that one of those channels would enjoy opening? It's kind of beyond the 10-year anniversary, but is it safe to eat Twinkies that are 11 years old? I don't know. You won't know. Like, you'd have to actually open the box, see inside if it's still spongy. Are they covered in mold? There's no bugs on it because I don't have bugs in my house. But how weird is that, guys? I found boxes of Twinkies that have historical value, but I can't sell them at eBay because you can't sell expired food. It's a big no-no. I would never want to lose my eBay account for it. But let me know in the comments, what do you think this box is worth? And am I crazy to have something like this? So I'll talk to you guys on the next one.